Hi, I'm Greg Prete with EXP, and we are at Cabo 25 having a fabulous, incredible event. The speakers today was Ed Milet, and wow, he just kill it. It was amazing. And Jay Kinder, you name it. Anyway, if you've never been to this property, the Hyatt Ziva in Cabo, you need to come. Okay, we've already started selling tickets to Cabo 26, and it is an event not to be missed. Even if you don't see yourself coming to EXP, you should be here. You're going to learn skills and abilities and just great information that will help you build your business. And you're going to meet so many cool people. So speaking of cool, I am sitting here with Chris Guercio with EXP in San Diego, and so I just asked him to share his story and help people understand why EXP. So Chris, thanks again,
Sure.
man.
My pleasure.
Really
dude.
appreciate you being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
I love stuff like this.
How long are you in the business now?
I've been in the business. I got licensed in California in 2000 and late 2016.
Yeah.
And really started up as an agent in California like end of 16, beginning of 2017.
Okay, great. All right, and so not decades and decades in the business.
No, I was a lawyer for 16 years. I practiced in New York. Got into real estate on the investing side of things. When you're an attorney, they automatically give you a broker's license. So I never did real estate law.
Yeah.
But they gave me a broker's license anyway, and I knew nothing.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
So, but I'm not licensed to practice law in California. So when I moved out here, I actually had to take the test and do the courts and all that kind of stuff.
Off topic, but tell me, what kind of law did you practice in New York?
I was a prosecutor for a number of years, and then I did, when I was in private practice, I did public sector labor law primarily. So I represented management.
Man, that's interesting stuff. That's awesome. I know it's grueling.
The DA's office was fun. The private practice, not so much.
Yeah, no, I get
the money was better, but not as much fun.
So you decided to slum it in San Diego and sell real estate and enjoy the sunshine now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So so you came to San Diego. What year was that? How many years?
I moved here in 2015.
Okay.
And I got licensed in Cali about sometime in 2016, and then started working as an agent full time end of that year, beginning of 2017.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's exciting. Yeah. And so tell me, what did you like about your previous company, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all.
Yeah. What was it?
We loved it there. I had started in California at a small brokerage that friends of mine owned.
Yeah.
And as I was getting more serious about the business, I wanted to play on a bigger stage. So as a novice agent, you start thinking, oh, I need to be at one of these big brokerages with a big name so that you can get luxury clients.
Yeah.
I wanted to start to break into the La Jolla market, which is our #1 luxury market in San Diego. So I had first gone to Berkshire Hathaway, but I had, I knew nothing really about this business yet.
Okay.
So I had literally just went into La Jolla and I walked into Berkshire and said, who's the manager? Same thing at Coldwell and same thing at Sotheby's.
Really? Okay.
So I liked the manager at Coldwell Banker the best of the three. He was.
That's a big reason to join the company.
He was a bro and a great guy. But at the time, Berkshire was a much bigger animal.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I want to be around the top agents. I want to learn from these people and be able to pick their brains, etc. So I decided on Berkshire Hathaway, and that lasted about 8 months. And I realized, none of these top agents want me picking their brain. They don't want to talk to me. Most of the time, they wouldn't even say hello.
So they weren't the most warm and friendly, collaborative people.
No, it was the exact opposite of what I had envisioned in my head. So the manager at Coldwell he's very good at follow-up, and he stayed in front of me, and he's my kind of guy. So he's like, the hell are you doing? When are you going to come and work with us? So finally I was like, you know what? You got me.
Yeah.
So moved over there and worked as a solo agent there for a little bit.
Coldwell Banker.
Yep.
Okay.
I was in the La Jolla office in Coldwell Banker. And I started thinking about, I was a Mike Ferry guy. Yep. So I'm banging the phones every day, calling FSBOs, expireds, etc. And it's a hard market to break into when you're new. And I'm so new in this business, and now you're playing on the biggest stage. And I was good enough to get a lot of listing appointments, but I wasn't good enough to be closing on a lot of listings because
all right.
It's like everybody I went to, I know this guy and I've done 7 transactions with him over the years, and this person's been my friend for 25 years, and I golf with this person on Saturday. So I kept stumbling every time, and I was not good enough yet to overcome the objection of my inexperience.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a lender buddy of mine and said to him, what do you think about me joining a team? And he said, like, I have the guy for you. So he introduced me to a guy who was the top agent. He ran the top team at Caldwell. So I ended up joining his team. And, you know, the nice thing was I was closer to his age bracket. You know, I mean, this is a second act for me. So there was a lot of younger members on the team. And he and I were sort of the same generation. So we became close pretty quickly. And I ended up then being the head of operations for the team. So I was sort of running. He was the face and the name that everybody knew. So he was the rainmaker. And then I was running the operational side of the business.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's exciting. And so you made your transition to EXP. Tell us more about that. And when did that happen? I mean, ballpark.
It's a funny story. Well, I know exactly when it was because it was a very memorable time. So, we made the actual switch in September of 2019. So in May of that year, the guy whose team I was on, Compass, started recruiting him very hard. And just like they were doing with everybody back then, they offered him a lot of money. So enough that we took it very, very seriously. And we were really happy at Caldwell Banker, but this was a 7-figure nut, so you pay attention. And you know, just like this isn't a big mystery because there was a big article about it in The Real Deal. It was the hidden clawback on the money and
that's what happens with financial advisors. You know, CFPs, you know, Series 7, Series 8 licensed, you know, financial advisors. Okay, yeah, you got these golden handcuffs, right?
Exactly.
You know, UBS or you name it. Okay, great. We're going to give you $780,000 for you to bring your book, but you got to be here for 10 years. Otherwise, you're going to give that back to us.
It was a much longer commitment than they had told us it was going to be. And, you know, in the end, it's like, we're just keeping you here until you give us all that money back. So when we discovered the clawback, we blew up that deal. And I actually walked into his office that night. Agitated. You know, I'm a New York former prosecutor and Italian, so you know, agitation is kind of my middle name. But
and by the way, it's important to point out. So Italian, Sicilian Italian?
No, Napolitano.
Okay, all right. I'm Torino, Northern Italian. Okay, so all right, it's important to point that out.
I'm like one less tick down in terms of agitation levels. But you know, so I had literally called them back to our office just to throw them out. And pointed out that I found in the contract what we were looking for, that they were dishonest with us about. So I'm already in the red line at this point, and I sit down in his office. It's like 7 o'clock at night, and I said, well, now what? And his response was, don't worry, we were never going to go to Compass. I want to move the team to EXP.
Okay, killer.
So that caused the engine to blow at that point. What the F is EXP? What are you, out of your mind? I literally thought he had lost it. And our offices shared a glass wall. So I'm literally leaving his office. I'm back in my office, still yelling at him through the glass.
Are you banging on the glass?
Couldn't believe that that's what he was talking about. So I'm driving home, and I'm on the phone with the girl who I'm dating at the time. And I was just like, he's lost his mind. This is crazy. And he sends me a text and says, watch this video when you get home. So I show up and I'm like, I'm not watching this stupid video, blah, blah, blah. So it was such, I remember every detail about this night because it was such a pivotal change in direction for us. But I poured a full glass of wine, like right to the top, and I sat down on my laptop, and I start watching this video, and it's an old video of a guy I never heard of, this, you know, this guy, Gene Frederick. And, you know, he's in some ballroom, and somebody's just, it looked like they were filming him on an iPhone. And he's 10 minutes into his, why EXP Realty. And I hit pause on the computer, and I just sat back on the couch, and I just remember thinking, I don't get it. Like, why isn't everyone flocking to this company. Like, why is this the first time that I'm hearing about this? So, you know, naturally, then you're Italian, you get it.
I do.
The skeptic comes up, it's got to be bullshit, you know,
Totally.
right? You know, excuse me, but has to be. So
my initial thought,
I spent the next 10 and a half hours trying to tear it apart because I didn't want to go there. And for no reason other than sheer ignorance. I knew nothing about it, but all I knew was, you know, I don't know anything about this company. There's nobody in La Jolla at EXP. This is a stupid move. And so for the next 10 and a half hours, I was literally Googling what's wrong with EXP, why not go to EXP, problems with EXP, etc. And the more videos I watched, the more articles I read. You know, I had two screens going, so I'm listening to somebody and reading articles at the same time. And everything that I was hearing, like all of the negatives, I was just like, this guy doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. This person doesn't get it. It's all the things that they were saying were the reasons they didn't go were not real reasons. It was just the narrative we've all been told by brokerages for the last 50 years. And by the next morning, I mean, I did this for 10 and a half hours straight. So the next day, I literally showed up at the office wearing the same suit. I didn't even shower. I just drove to the office, and he was meeting with somebody on the team, and I was like, get out. And I closed the door, and I'm like, wired on an entire pot of coffee at that point too. And he's like, did you even sleep? And I was like, forget about that. Forget about that. We need to do this today. And he just started laughing. He's like, I told you. And I was like, how long have you known about this?
And why didn't you tell me?
It was, you know, and I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want, because I thought, you know, in my mind, it's like, we're at this brand and it's the luxury brand. And, you know, all this stuff we've been told forever. But the truth was, I realized we were Coldwell Banker's luxury brand. Like, we were their top team. We had all of our own branding. He even owned the office that we were in, and Coldwell paid him rent to make it a Coldwell Banker office. So we were a self-contained unit. And I was like, we could do this move pretty easily. And ended up being the smartest thing we ever did.
It's amazing.
To me, it was a no-brainer. Running our sales volume, like, we didn't get leads from Coldwell Banker. We were super close with the manager, but we didn't need his help. You know what I mean? The team members came to us for help.
You're autonomous.
So we were completely autonomous.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all heard of how many people say, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Couldn't undo it. It drove me crazy as we were trying to unwind for the next couple of months. You know, every day felt like an eternity. Like, can we go yet? Can we go yet? Can we go yet? And I mean, just running our sales volume through EXP's compensation model, I projected it would be $305,000 we would save. It ended up being significantly more than that because our business went through the roof that following year.
Did any of that include the second and third tiers like stock and rev share?
Nothing. This was straight apples to apples.
Because so you were calculating a fast cap, getting from 80/20 to 100 right away. Based on your average listing price,
our production, what we paid to Coldwell versus what we would pay to EXP.
And I want to see that, by the way. Okay. And and so just the production side in GCI, you were able to make a very fast case for EXP.
The number was too big to ignore. You know what I mean? And that's why I was like, I don't understand. You know, as soon as when I hit pause and sat back, you know, it was like a glitch in the matrix, kind of like I couldn't wrap my head around it. But that's all I was focused on is what's wrong with it? Because why isn't there a line around the block of people trying to get into this place? So I dumped the wine. I made a pot of coffee and stayed up the entire night trying to break it down.
You dumped a great glass of cab.
I did.
Dude,
I don't know how great it was. I don't know how great it was, but it was a cab.
All right, yeah, I knew it was cab. So that's awesome. So that's a great story. I love these stories. I mean, I'm having so much fun making these videos and interviewing people here. So I got a different question for you.
Sure.
You know, no one makes any money unless we sell a house.
Correct.
Okay, and you know, I've seen it. You know, we all have the servant leadership mindset of making sure that we are delivering just a world-class experience for the home buyer and the seller, right? So let me ask you this. I'm kind of springing this on you. Sorry about that, but you've been around. You have a great idea of the traditional brokerage model
Yep.
versus EXP and their technology and their forward-thinking leadership. I mean, you name it.
Yep.
Glenn, Leo, Brent, Gene, Curtis.
Aces. Yep.
They're amazing. Yeah. Okay, and tell me this: what is it about EXP that helps you serve the home seller, the home buyer at a higher level?
Um,
And I mean, before you answer that question, what I'm driving at is I want to buy brain cells. I mean, we all do, and because we live in a world where people's attention span is getting shorter and shorter,
Yep.
and it has to be a montage experience. Yep. It has to.
Yep.
All right, in order to have that retention. And yes, there's attraction and CRMs, with
Yep.
KV Core and all this.
Selling houses is the core, and it always is.
It is.
And you just used an interesting phrase that dovetails perfectly with the answer I was going to give.
Yeah.
Because not to get like old Zen like California, but the environment here raises the bar for all of us.
Okay.
So, I came from a previous business that was not entrepreneurial in any way whatsoever. Like the DA's office, there was no marketing business showed up in a cage. It was very easy. We never had to worry about finding work. In private practice, same kind of thing.
I'm sorry to laugh so hard.
Same kind of thing where we had a big enough grip on our niche that we didn't market at all. So, and I was a trial lawyer and a negotiator there. So it was, business is sort of pouring in the door and you're just handling the fires as they're popping up.
Sure.
Now, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I've got to make the fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's, I'm a terrible marketer. I'm awful on camera typically.
You're doing great.
So,
but we all learn it, right?
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah. So it's, Jay Kinder said this years ago at an event, and he says it a lot on his social media, where the best agents are the best marketers. So for me, it's the things that I love about events like this. Like you and I met 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can constantly walk around this pool and just sit down next to anybody and be like, hey, what's going on? What's working in your business?
Right.
And people are excited to get that question and share and then pick your brain in reverse. So this whole week, I've been sitting like, I don't go anywhere without a pad with me because you're constantly learning little hacks in your business that have a huge delta in your final result. So it's not necessarily, I see agents do this all the time where they're like, I need to make a change, so I'm going to change brokerages. And you're the same shitty agent at that brokerage as you are at this one.
It's so true.
You don't. If your behavior doesn't change, your results stay the same all the time. So just doing that change from one brokerage to another, other than the day and a half of people liking it on your Instagram and saying congratulations and blah blah blah. Once that's over, now you're the same person you were in different colors.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
I would agree.
But here, you're around a different caliber of business person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not just agents. They really are business owners and entrepreneurs. So you learn so many things. Like I've made so many good friends here that are like, you have to get on social media more. You have to post more. You have to do this. And it's always like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to put. I
don't want to be on camera.
I hate being on camera. My voice sounds terrible when I hear it on tape.
Me
blah,
too.
Blah, blah. But, my accent's that bad. So, but you realize that they're like, somebody said this to me a number of years ago, and it always stuck with me. Like, and I'll use him as an example. Like, Dan Beer wasn't always Dan Beer. You know what I mean? At some point, he was brand new and trying to figure stuff out and was awkward and this and that. And now you look at the business that he's built on this platform. Him and Kyle Whistle, his partner. Those guys, the Tina Calls, like all the people that you heard speak from stage weren't always those titans. And this is a place where when I had that mentality of going to Berkshire Hathaway, and I said, I want to be around these big hitters and pick their brain and learn from them, and maybe they'll let me shadow them, or you just have no idea. You're like, I don't know what I don't know, and you feel very lost in the beginning. This is a place where those people actually have a vested financial interest in my success. And those three names that I just mentioned, they're not even part of my upline. They're not part of my rev share group, but everybody who's winning at this company, we all win.
I spoke with Kyle Whistler yesterday, and I said, hey, I live in Aliso. I'm an hour north of you. I didn't want to assume anything. I asked him straight up I asked him, say, what would you charge me to shadow you and just be a fly on the wall for a day? And he kind of smiled, and he said, he just said, man, just come. Just calm down, and I offered to buy the staff lunch or something. Just, I mean, you gotta reciprocate, right? And anyway, he even just saying that, he's like, dude, really? Sure, absolutely. I mean, I'm so grateful, But you're right, and I've seen, I mean, making these videos here, talking to people, and man, there is such a spirit of collaboration here. It's attractive, and it's not the prior companies you've been with, where we're going to zip our lip and not share the secret sauce. And no, because the rev share, the stock ownership, I've had even with my short time with EXP at this point, I've had a number of people tell me, well, EXP stock's at $10 now. And I say, hey, look, I'm not trying to be snarky or BSer, but what's your stock at your company?
Right. How much stock do you own?
And they literally aren't thinking it through. And they say, well, I don't have any stock. Well, maybe we should talk. Okay. Yeah, man. It's like, okay, all right. But honestly, it's really very interesting. Well, listen, I don't know that I have anything more to ask. But if there's anything else, like, is there, apart from just Brent and Gene and everyone being off the hook awesome, is there anything else that you like? Oh no, I'm gonna be a little difficult. Yeah, I'm gonna be a little nosy. So, what difficulties did you have in? Were there any difficulties on your onboarding or embracing the technology? What about EXP World? What about I mean, how long did it take you to feel like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, and I love the cloud-based model?
Love it. It's very funny
because that takes some time, right?
I have a very good story in that. Okay. Regard. So, the first time I log into EXP World, I'm a bit of a technology idiot. Like, I'll get it eventually, but I'll sit there night after night till 5 in the morning to figure something out because it annoys me that I don't know it. But it takes me a lot longer than it probably should.
Okay, me too.
So yeah, it's terrible. So the first time I went into EXP World, I didn't know that you could use the cursors to make the little guy walk around. So I'm just using the mouse and I'm pointing it at a spot, and then I would click it and the guy would walk to that spot. So I had walked myself into a corner, and then I couldn't figure out how to make him turn around. And all of a sudden I hear some lady call out my name, and she's like, hey, Chris Guercio. And I'm like, yeah. I don't see her on the screen. And I was like, you got to walk in front of me because I can't make the guy turn around. So I hear her laughing at me, and she walks over and she's like, you can use the little arrows. So I backed him up out of the corner and then clicked and turned the guy around. She's standing right there. So it turns out though she gave us a $1.1 million referral right there. Like, she's like, are you those guys in San Diego? I said, yeah. She's like, we have a buyer who's looking to buy in San Diego. So like that, getting myself shoved in the corner and not being able to get out. Now all of a sudden we're getting
so that doesn't happen every day, but that's pretty darn freaking awesome, right?
So how I describe this to everybody, we used to do this exercise from stage all the time. So when you fold your arms, all right, you always fold your arms a certain way. If you try folding them the other way, it feels so weird, right?
Totally weird.
So it's just different.
Yeah.
But it's not really that different.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. It's a different way of folding your arms. You have to get accustomed to the fact that, like, every little problem that pops up, you can't run into your manager's office like your hair's on fire and just be like, oh, I need you to fix this. You know, it's like some of this stuff you got to figure out for yourself. But there is always someone there. So like they did a wonderful
24/7. Almost, I don't know if it's 365, but wow, man.
There's always somebody there, and if it's not staff at EXP, it's your upline, it's people in your downline, or you know, like with the leadership community of like the people who have brought a lot of agents into the company. They did a great job of forming a group where we have our own group and workplace and a chat with everybody on it. People, I haven't spoken to my broker in years, literally years. And because you'll just pop the question right in there, and people are just firing off answers to it. And a lot of times it sparks a whole different discussion.
I've experienced that myself.
So
it's really encouraging.
So it's not, what we do isn't brain surgery. Nothing that we utilize is all that complicated. All the software is pretty intuitive and user friendly. So just go in there. You're not going to break it. You go in there, you play around with stuff like, you know, I got my guy stuck in the corner and somebody was like, dumbass, you can back the guy up. So that was my first experience in the EXP world. But you know, I've known people who've offboarded because of things like that, because it just drove them crazy. And it's, oh, I can't call my manager. And you know, we'll tell people when we get them onboarded, like, get used to not being able to call someone. You have to adjust your approach and the means of communication.
But the way we deliver it is way faster.
So much faster.
It's so much faster.
So that happens all the time.
It's like going from a landline to a cell phone. I mean, it is just a different paradigm, and you learn, the dendrites in your brain connect, you learn something new, and then you're running.
And once you're used to that, you can't imagine going back to the old way. You know what I mean? It's like, what happens if your manager goes on vacation? Does the whole place shut down?
That was the same thing my brother said. My brother Rick up in Thousand Oaks. You know, he said, "Look, I've been happy at CB for a long time, but there have been times where I couldn't get a hold of someone. You know, whether his manager or corporate, and you know, whether it be a day or several days. Okay, and whereas anyway." So I'll just kind of share this other vignette real fast. So Rick and I are still very blessed to have our folks. They're still alive. And my mom says something to Rick like, "Man, you've been with Caldwell for 30 years. Aren't you kind of afraid to branch out and do?" And so he had just gotten back from Miami Con last December, and he said, "Oh, you know, I get it. I'm afraid to stay where I'm at. Like the technology, the trends that are happening in our world and our industry are moving so fast that, I mean, I might as well, you know, put my feet in cement blocks and jump in the water. You know, I mean, that's exaggerative, but that's kind of the deal, right?"
There's a guy at Coldwell Banker who at least once a month I send him the little, I don't know if you call it a meme or a GIF or whatever, but it's a picture of the string quartet on the top of the Titanic, and I'm like, this is you playing the music on the way down as the ship is sinking, and you're saying everything's fine, there's no problems here, our stock has dropped, you know, 90%, but we're good, we're perfect,
it's all good.
So
just tune your violin.
It's just what you just said. It's scarier to stay than get in the lifeboat.
Anyway, hey, we're going long here. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you, man.
Thanks for having me.
And I know for a fact that
you're in the right
I'll
place.
see you again and again, and I'll come down and visit you.
Cool, love it.
All right, hey, we're signing off. Thanks so much for your time with us.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you all soon. Bye bye. All right, did it stop? No, it did not stop.